All right, welcome. You know that feeling when you're watching an educational video and suddenly everything just clicks? You feel like you finally get it? Well, today we're going to peek behind the curtain and figure out how that magic actually works. We are breaking down the blueprint for what makes a study video not just good, but, truly unforgettable. So let's dive right in. So for anyone making content out there, this is really the million-dollar question, isn't it? How do you cut through all the noise online and make something that actually sticks in someone's brain? It's not just about dumping information, right? It's about creating real impact. And that's exactly what we're going to unpack together. And to do this, we've got the perfect blueprint. We're going to look at a fantastic case study. It's a chemistry video from a channel called Study Mafia. And honestly, we're going to treat this thing less like a single lesson and more like a masterclass recipe. A step-by-step guide on how to create super-focused content that actually connects with students when it matters most, right before their exams.
Okay, so here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll look at the winning formula, kind of the bedrock of it all. Then, we'll get into the art of the hook, super important. After that, we'll see how they build a real connection with students. Then, the big one, how they structure really complex topics. We'll also cover how they lock in that learning, and we'll wrap up with their super smart call to action.
All right, section 1. So let's start at the very beginning. Where does a great video really begin? Well, it's not with the first line of the script, no way. It starts way before that with a crystal clear core strategy. Think of it like the foundation of a house. Everything else gets built on top of this.
And when you look at Study Mafia's strategy, you can see that every single choice is deliberate. I mean, nothing is accidental here. The channel name, Study Mafia, it's not just catchy. It instantly creates this we're in this together kind of community vibe. The language they use? It's natural, spoken Hindi, which feels just like a real teacher talking to you, building that trust right away. And their video goal is so specific. It's all about board exams, taking a student from zero to hero. It's a rock-solid promise they make to their audience from the second they click.
Okay, moving on. Once you've got that solid foundation, what's next? Well, you've got to grab their attention, and fast. In the crazy world of online video, those first 15 seconds are everything. It's basically your one shot to convince a viewer that, hey, stick around, this is worth your time.
And the Study Mafia formula for this is just perfect. They use 4 key ingredients to make their hook totally irresistible. First, they hit you with high energy right out of the gate. Then they build up a little curiosity. Next, and this is so important, they immediately tell you why this matters for your board exams. And finally, they drop their brand name, Study Mafia. It's this quick, powerful 1, 2, 3, 4 punch that basically screams to the student, yep, you're in the right place.
And this is such a brilliant example of that why. See, they don't just say, oh, this chapter is important. Anyone can say that. They quantify it. They say this could be worth up to 7 marks on your exam. Wow. I mean, that instantly raises the stakes, right? The video goes from being something that's maybe good to know to something that is absolutely essential. It's a total game changer. Okay. So, you've got them hooked. Awesome. But that's just the first step. How do you keep them engaged for the whole video? Well, the secret here is building a real, genuine connection. It's about turning what could be a boring one-way lecture into a real two-way conversation.
I mean, just look at the difference here. On one side, you have the classic, kind of dry intro. Hello, everyone. Today we will study the chapter Solutions. Yawn. But then look at the other side. Welcome to Study Mafia. How are your studies going? Comment your board exam target. It's a totally different universe, right? It's warm, it's personal, it's interactive, and that tiny shift completely changes the whole vibe. The student doesn't feel like they're being lectured at, they feel like they're being seen. And there is some really powerful psychology going on here. It's so smart. Just by asking a few simple questions, the creator is turning a bunch of passive viewers into an active community. Suddenly, you're not just watching a video anymore. You're part of something. You're invested.
All right, now we get to the real heart of the video, the actual teaching part. So how do you tackle a super dense, complicated topic and make it simple, clear, and, well, something people actually remember? It all boils down to this really elegant and repeatable teaching loop. This is kind of the secret sauce. So let's take a real-world example from their chemistry video. Concentration terms. Now, if you've ever studied chemistry, you know this can be a super tricky spot. You've got all these similar sounding words like molarity, molality. It's easy to get them mixed up. So let's see how this formula handles it. The method they use is a beautiful, simple 4-step loop. It goes like this. Step 1, you just explain the core concept, like what is molarity? Step 2,
you give a super simple example to make it real, like salt and water. Step 3, you give them a one-sentence recap, just to lock it in. And step 4, the clincher, you add a board-focused tip, something like, hey, remember, molarity is temperature-dependent. This directly ties it to what they need for the exam, and they just rinse and repeat this loop for every single concept. It's genius. And here is a really subtle but totally brilliant technique they use. While the host is explaining everything in detail in Hindi, the text you see on the screen is super minimal. It's just a few key English terms. This works like a visual anchor for your brain, right? It gives you something to latch onto without overwhelming you with a wall of text. It's the perfect balance of hearing the details and seeing the main point. Okay, let's watch them do it again. Let's test this loop on another tricky topic, colligative properties. Now, this concept is all about properties that depend on how many particles there are, not what kind of particles they are. It's a really important idea in chemistry, but man, it can be confusing. And look, they do it again. A really complex idea is boiled down to one simple, easy-to-remember phrase on the screen. It becomes like a North Star for the student. While the teacher is explaining all the little details, that main point is always right there, reinforcing the big takeaway. It seems like such a simple trick, but for helping you actually remember this stuff, it is so effective.
So we're nearing the end of the lesson, but the job's not quite done. You know, those last few minutes are absolutely vital for cementing everything into long-term memory. And that's where the final recap comes in. It's this super quick, rapid-fire revision designed to just lock in everything that you've just learned.
And let's be clear, this recap is not another long, detailed explanation. Nope, it's just a quick, high-level list of all the big ideas that covered. It's designed to do a few things really fast, jog your memory, connect all the dots from the lesson, and basically give you a mental checklist of what you've just mastered. It really feels like that last-minute cram session right before you walk into an exam.
And that brings us to the final piece of the puzzle, the end of the video. But this isn't just a simple goodbye. No, it's a really strategically designed call to action that's doing two things at once. It helps the student and helps build the channel for the long run.
See, every single part of their outro has a very specific job. When they ask you to like and share, that's not just for vanity. It helps the video reach more students who need it. When they ask you to subscribe, they're building that core, loyal community. And then, that final brand tagline, well, that's what leaves a lasting impression.
And what a tagline it is, because here we study the smart way. I mean, come on, that's perfect. That one single line sums up the channel's entire promise to the viewer. It's not just about grinding and studying hard. It's about being efficient, about studying smart. It's such a powerful and memorable way to close things out and reinforce what their brand is all about.
So there you have it. From that core strategy all the way to that killer tagline, that's the blueprint. And I think the biggest takeaway from all of this is that truly great educational content, it doesn't just happen by accident. It's the result of really deliberate, thoughtful design. So I'll just leave you with this one question to think about. What is the single most important element from this whole breakdown that you're going to use to make your next educational video truly unforgettable? Thanks so much for watching.